Now my camera is on. I just recognized that. So there we go. We should be all clear now. But as I was saying, on Wednesday, the Packers won the practice. On Thursday, the Patriots won the practice. And it got super, super chippy. There were like, 6, 7, or 8 fights, which is pretty crazy. And so I do wonder, can the Packers bring that physicality? Can we see something positive from the Packers here coming up on Saturday night against the Patriots? So first off, I want to go over Brian Gutekunst in his press conference. And I'd say there is maybe 5, 6 different things he said that were very, very interesting, very important to note. And to start off, we'll discuss what he shared about David Bakhtiari. So there's, of course, been these, at least rumors-ish kind of flying around about the Jets wanting to trade for Bakhtiari. As we've said, who knows if it's true or not. Do they actually want that? And Brian Gutekunst cleared it up, at least from the Packers side today. And he said, first of all, we are not going to trade David. So he said, let's just get that out of the way, because I know there's been a little bit of chatter about that. That's not going to happen. So Brian Gutekunst making the wise decision. I don't think it's a good decision to trade Bakhtiari. We got to protect Jordan Love's blind side. We would only save $1.5 million in cap space in 2023. So it really doesn't make sense unless the Jets made a crazy offer, which I don't know why they would, offer like a first or second round pick for an aging player. So Brian Gutekunst cleared that up to start off. Then here we have Brian Gutekunst discussing tomorrow night about Jordan Love and wanting these young guys to play together. And he said this: tomorrow night will be another really good step for him, Jordan Love, which sounds like Love will be playing. Yesterday we saw Matt LaFleur say that, he wasn't really sure or he was asked a question by Rob Domofsky about whether Love would play basically this week or the next week, and he said, I don't know yet. So I was wondering if maybe the Packers weren't going to play Love, which I thought wouldn't make sense. I think we got to play Love in each preseason game. And Brian Gutekunst seems to have that same idea. So let me read this quote here, and I got lots of these quotes from his press conference, but also shared by Cassidy Hill at PackersNews.com. And so here is what Brian Gutekunst had to say. He said, I think it's important for our offense to play together. A lot of it is just to see things over and over. You just kind of develop the instincts and calluses to know what you can and can't do. So basically wanting Love to be able to, have more experience out there, test his throws, what can he and can't he do, what should he and shouldn't he do. So it's not just him. It's our entire offense together. We got a lot of young guys that are seeing some things for the very first time. It's not always comfortable, especially for me. You want to keep everybody healthy, get them to that first game, but I think it's necessary. So that's the risk you run of playing these guys in the preseason. Obviously, a guy could get injured. But I think when you look at Jordan Love, when you look at the Packers with this young roster they have, if Love plays in both of these games, he's going to be much more prepared for that game against the Bears, and I think the Packers will hopefully be able to, get through some different issues in these preseason games that don't show up in week 1 against the Bears. And I think we all know that this is going to be a process with Love. I think the Packers front office knows that there's going to be lots of ups and downs with a super, super young team that's very inexperienced as these guys get a hang of things. And so obviously, the more Love can play in the preseason, the more these young receivers, tight ends can play in the preseason, the better. And then here's a tweet I want to share from Ryan Wood. He said, Packers GM Brian Gutekunst on Jordan Love. I think the thing I've been really pleased with is his command, his confidence back there in the things he's doing, and the way he's leading our football team. So Brian Gutekunst sounds happy with what Love has done so far and is excited to see what he can do coming in tomorrow night. Now here, moving to the next thing. So yesterday, if you guys were on the live stream, we talked about the Devondre Campbell news that came out yesterday from Matt Schneidman, that apparently Schneidman saw a boot and a scooter next to Devondre Campbell's locker, which had me slightly concerned, thinking, okay, why would there be a boot there if this wasn't a pretty serious injury? But today, Brian Gutekunst cleared it up, and it sounds like it's not too big of a deal. Here's his quote. It's not something that's going to be very long. It's not a long-term thing. He's a seasoned pro, so I don't think this will hold him back too much. And he also mentioned that it seems like he should be ready week 1. So luckily, it looks like the injury isn't super, super serious, which is great because he is a big, big piece of this Packers defense. And when he's playing at a high level, this Packers defense is much better. He's so good against the run and his tackling ability. And I think the Packers missed him last year when he went down with an injury for a few games. And so it looks like he should be back for week 1. So hopefully that will be the case. And then one other thing, if there's lots of position battles going on right now in Green Bay, and I'd say the biggest one especially when it comes to who's actually going to be starting, is this safety room. There's so much uncertainty here. And Gutekunst himself today said, the safety battle is not settled. That's basically paraphrasing him. And so it's not shocking that this hasn't really worked itself out. It's not like two guys have really risen to the top. I think the Packers were hoping that would happen, but so far it has not been the case. Of course, this offseason, the Packers bring in Jonathan Owens, who did start for the Texans, but he wasn't very good last year. He had a 48.3 PFF grade, and the Packers paid him $1 million. So clearly, he, at least last year, wasn't a great safety. If he was great, the Packers would have had to pay him more than $1 million, and so it was very much a bargain move to sort of see, okay, can we get something from this guy who did start? But so far, it seems like he hasn't really risen to the top. And then you also look at the other addition, signing 49ers player Tarvarius Moore, also for $1 million, which basically shows these two guys they brought in, it's not like they're top-tier safety talent, because it would have cost a lot more than $1 million. And so neither of these guys have really solidified themselves as the guy next to Savage. And it really does sound like Savage 100% is going to be a lock here as a starter, even though he's been pretty shaky the past couple seasons. Joe Barry talked in his press conference today about how Savage is like the leader in the room, the veteran in the room. And I do think when you look at this safety position, this is definitely the weak link of the Packers defense. And if there's going to be issues, I think it's going to be with this safety position, just because of these guys who look like they're going to be starting have struggled the past couple of years and haven't been like very talented safeties. So hopefully we see some increased play there. And I also am curious to see, can a guy like Anthony Johnson, who was drafted in the 7th round, can he come in here this preseason game and make some plays and potentially push himself up the roster? Because I think that with him, you don't exactly know what he has. And so hopefully we can see Johnson take a step forward and maybe push himself ahead of some of these guys. Who knows? Right now in practice, it hasn't really been that way. Tarvarius Moore and Jonathan Owens have been sort of switching back and forth as the opposing starting safety next to Savage. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one. And then, of course, now we're going to talk about Anders Carlson. Brian Gutekunst doesn't sound too worried about Anders Carlson. And he said, we believe in him. We think he's got a lot of talent. He's done some really good things since he's been here. You guys have seen his leg strength and his power. I really like how the ball elevates off of his foot, but got to find a way to get to a more consistent level. He also mentioned that the Packers are giving him a long leash. They're going to allow him to hopefully get over these mistakes he's making. And here's the thing about this. If Anders Carlson had been like a very, very accurate kicker in college, then I'd be slightly less concerned, because I'd say, okay, maybe it's just his time here as a first-year player. Maybe he's just getting through these rookie issues. But the thing is, he wasn't super accurate in college. I think he had around a 71% field goal percentage made, which would be one of the worst in the NFL. And so it's just unfortunate because he did struggle in college. The Packers clearly believe that they could fix those issues, and the question is, can they, or is this just going to be what he's going to be? And I hope it's not the case. I hope he can be coached up and become a solid kicker, but right now it sounds like the Packers are going to give him time to sort of work through these issues. And yes, I already gave an update on Campbell. Gutekunst said that he thinks that he is going to be okay, and it's not going to be a long-term thing, which is awesome to hear. And now I want to move on to Joe Barry and react to what he had to say. There were a few different things I found interesting. So the past few days, there's been some talk among Matt LaFleur mentioned it a little bit, but not super in a serious manner. Maybe it was, who knows. But the idea of moving Rasul Douglas to safety just because Carrington Valentine has been so good, and because there's a weakness and a lack of, top-tier play at safety, maybe moving a guy like Douglas to safety could make sense to get Carrington Valentine on the field. But Joe Barry brought this idea today by a reporter. And he said this: I've never seen Rasul play safety. Rasul Douglas is our starting corner right now. And when he was asked that question, Joe Barry looks pretty much sort of shocked about that idea of of Douglas being safety. So it doesn't look to me like that's actually in the cards for the Packers. At least Matt LaFleur doesn't seem to have discussed it with Joe Barry. So right now it does not look like that is going to be the case. And then here's a big thing I think Packers fans want to know. Obviously, Joe Barry has not been the most consistent defensive coordinator the past 2 years. There's been ups, there's been downs. Luckily, the Packers defense finished off pretty solid to end last season, and hopefully that will be the case to start this season. But last year, I think we saw what happened week 1 against the Minnesota Vikings, where Justin Jefferson absolutely destroyed our defense. And in that game, Jair wasn't really following him, didn't seem to be in the game plan. And then the next time we faced the Vikings last season, it looked like the plan had changed, and Jair pretty much for a majority of the day was following Justin Jefferson and lined up in that way. And so one reporter mentioned how the corners are thinking they're going to be more aggressive and playing more man-to-man this year. And he basically asked Joe Barry about that idea going into 2023, if he's going to make some changes. And Joe Barry said this, so he basically is paraphrasing. He said, would like to think we'll be different this year than a year ago. Defense is based on the style of offense you are playing. And he said, as a defense, you're always evolving. And so it sounds like maybe Joe Barry is going to allow these guys to do what they want to do, play more man, which I think it seemed to work better. When Jair Alexander was following Justin Jefferson around the field, it seemed to work better, which makes sense. When you have a top-tier corner, when you have one of the best corners in the league who has the ability to shut down guys in man-to-man, maybe doing that more makes sense. And obviously, I'm not a defensive coordinator. Joe Barry is a defensive coordinator. But I think we saw what happened when they didn't do it. We saw what happened when they did do it. And so I think that seems to be more, at least against guys like a Justin Jefferson, you need to get Jair over near that guy because we need our elite talent facing off against their elite talent. And he also said this, quote, Joe Barry, you've got to change with the times a little bit, but those are week-to-week decisions that we will make every week. And I know Jair wants that. He craves that. So Jair clearly wants to be following guys and play aggressive man-to-man. He also mentioned that he loves where Devontae Wyatt is at, which I think Devontae Wyatt is a key to this Packers team in 2023. Because if he takes a big step forward, if Rashawn Gary is fully healthy, this line could be one of the best we've seen in a while here with Kenny Clark, TJ Slayton. And I think we've seen in training camp, there's been tons of different reports coming out that Devontae Wyatt looks like he has taken some big steps forward. And so hopefully we'll see some more of that as we get closer and closer to the season. And then another interesting thing, here's a tweet I want to share from Ryan Wood. And he said, Joe Barry has never sat in press box for games before until last week in Cincy. Matt LaFleur told him how much he enjoys calling plays up there. Barry asked friends in league and they agreed, so he tried it, liked it. And he said, it's much calmer up there. You can lay all your stuff out. So I wonder if Joe Barry keeps this up, if he decides to start sitting up there at the top in the press box, is this Packers defense going to be better? Because he seemed to like it. He discussed how you could lay all your stuff out and it was easier between series to see what was going on, what went wrong, because you can lay everything out and see it all right there. And so what if that was the problem with the Packers defense? What if moving Barry to the press box solves some issues? I think it could. It makes sense. If you have all that space out there, you can lay out all your plays, have everything nice instead of being on the sideline where clearly you can't sit there with your plays on the ground. That's not going to work. So that was an interesting thing to note, and I do wonder if once the season comes around, will he keep doing it? Because Barry said that he's going to keep trying it in this preseason to see if he likes it going forward. So that is going to be something very interesting to keep an eye on, and hopefully we can see this defense take some big steps forward. So tomorrow we, of course, have the Patriots versus the Packers preseason game. And so I also want to discuss the biggest things I'm going to be watching for, and I'll go through it real quick. But feel free to comment what you are looking for tomorrow night in this game. But I have 6 different things. Number 1, Jordan Love and the Packers receivers. So the last time they were on the field, practice Thursday, they got pretty much shut down by the Patriots defense. It was reported that the Patriots were way more physical than the Packers. And so I want to see how Jordan Love in this offense responds. We saw Jordan Love in week 1. I think he looks real good. Sure, there were a couple of mistakes, but still this guy started one NFL game. We got to give him time. And so I'm excited to see, can we see him take some more steps forward? Can we see him continue to build a chemistry with Christian Watson, with Romeo Doubs, with Luke Musgrave? Because Brian Gutekunst mentioned it, if you were watching the beginning of this stream, about how these guys need to get more and more time together because they're so young. And so we'll see tomorrow night what this Packers offense can be. The next thing I'm looking for is can the Packers match the Patriots' physicality? Because as I just said, it was reported that the Patriots were really bringing it to the Packers, much more physical, much more intense. And I think that's something the Packers need, the Packers defense too, especially when it comes to defenses. You need that physicality. You need that, that intensity to bring it there to other teams. And Bill Belichick always brings his guys out ready to go. They seem like they're always attacking, always playing aggressive and physical. And so I want to see, on Thursday, the Packers did not match the Packers' physicality, per reports. And so can they do it tomorrow night, even if, it's not the starters out there the whole game? Can every guy who comes out there come out there and bring it, because there's going to be tons of guys obviously fighting for their positions and positions on the 53-man roster, because there's still tons of battles going down right now. That's number 2. Number 3, can a safety rise to the top? Can a safety, set themselves apart from the rest? Because I already mentioned earlier in the stream, Darnell Savage sounds like he is a lock, even though he's been shaky the past couple seasons. But Joe Barry sounds convinced that Savage is going to be one of the guys out there at safety. So the question is, can one of these other safeties push himself ahead of the other guys? Because right now, from practice snaps, it looks like Tyrarius Moore and Jonathan Owens look to be competing for that number 2 spot. 2 guys the Packers brought in this offseason for about $1 million, pretty cheap. And also, too, we have Anthony Johnson Jr. out there. We have Rudy Ford as well. Can one of those guys show up in tomorrow's preseason game and try to vie for that second spot next to Savage? The next one, we got Sean Clifford, who I'm very excited to see Sean Clifford once again, because he was just fun to watch. When you have a guy playing like that, just sort of careless in the sense of he does not look uncomfortable, does not look afraid, does not look like a rookie out there. I want to see, can he play fearless like that without making those few poor decisions? Because obviously you guys who watched that game, he was out there slinging it, and he had two mistakes, one in a pick six by the other team, the other one intercepted. And so I want to see, can he do that? Next, we have Lucas Van Ness. So I want to see, can he just make like one big wow play in tomorrow night's preseason game? Because I think in the first one, he was out there a good amount in the first half, and there wasn't really a play where I was super impressed with. There were a couple where you can see his physicality right off the line where he just immediately, gives the offensive lineman problems. But there was maybe only one play where he really disrupted the pass that I noticed. And so I want to see if he can keep taking those steps forward, because he is a young player here, a young rookie, and he didn't have a ton of experience in college. And so I do expect, he's going to develop over the next couple seasons. But can he come in here and make a wow play? The final thing I'm looking for is, can Anders Carlson make his kicks? Pretty simple one there, but we discussed it earlier. But can he come in here and sort of shake off the inconsistency he has had? And he mentioned earlier in the week from a report, I believe it was an article by Ryan Wood, I think it was at PackersNews.com, where Carlson said that he thinks it's his tempo, that he's like rushing kicks, and maybe that's mental. Maybe because he's been missing these kicks, he's sort of in his head, which I think probably is a problem for kickers when they get in some kind of slump. It's hard to get out of that. And so we'll see on tomorrow night if he can come in there and if he can do that. So those are the 6 things I'm going to be watching tomorrow, which will be fun to watch that game. Okay, let me look at the chat a little bit here. Softball Sister says, Gary gone by week 4 if defense doesn't perform. What do you mean gone? Gone like traded? Or what do you mean? I don't think he's going to be traded. And then Mono Worf says, when do you think Eric Stokes will come back? That is a great question. I have no clue, because he's still on the PUP list, hasn't been activated. He's been out since early November. If I just had to guess, I would guess he'd be back in the first few weeks, but I honestly don't know. We'll have to see if he starts the season on the PUP list, because I'm pretty sure if you start on the PUP list, then you have to miss the first 4 games. I'm pretty sure that's the rule, if I'm not mistaken. Nate Collison says Van Ness needs to understand he can't bull rush through the O-lines. Yeah, I think that's something he needs to work on, is like technique and, having different ways to win against the offensive line. Because definitely in college, you watch lots of his highlights. Lots of times he was winning with a bull rush, and clearly he can probably, use that, because he's huge. He's 6'5" or so, and very large. So clearly that's one of his big attributes. But yeah, definitely needs to add some more there as well. Are you guys going to be watching that preseason game tomorrow night? Is it on NFL Plus? NFL Network? I haven't checked yet. I think last week it was on NFL Network, but I'm not sure about this week. Big K, or sorry, here we go. Correction. Keith says, correction, would they start Valentine over a healthy Stokes? That is a good question. I would be curious to see that. We've seen Valentine play really well. I wonder if he can keep that up. Because Stokes, I mean, he was solid when he was healthy. A little worse his second year than his first year. But I guess it depends on how quickly Stokes can get back to his like full strength. Because with the intensity of the injury Stokes suffered, I would assume it takes him some time to get fully back and fully there again. But I think that Valentine will compete with him. Honestly, from what I've seen from Valentine, he looks pretty elite. I'm surprised he was around in the 7th round. Nate Carlson, these boys in the NFL are a lot bigger than college. A lot, yeah. So probably the ways that Van Ness was able to win in college, maybe he can't do the same thing here in the NFL. But that's something I remember the Packers discussing when they drafted him, about how they're going to need to develop him and give him time. But I hope he can make some kind of impact his first season. Big K, what about the UDFA edge from Florida? Who is that? I'm trying to remember who's from Florida. Is it I'm not sure who that one is. Need to check that out. You said you think Valentine had character concerns? Huh. Oh, Brenton Cox. Okay. Yeah, Brenton Cox. Yeah, I think he's made some nice plays. I'm not sure if he's going to make it, though, because depending on how many edge rushers the Packers pick, because if we look at here, we got Rashawn Gary, of course. Well, if he's ready to go week 1. Preston Smith, Lucas Van Ness, Kingsley Enagbare, of course, making nice plays. And if we look at the Packers' past few seasons with how many edge rushers they kept, I was looking at it yesterday. Let me pull it up here. Not that document. I think it's like 5 typically. 5 or so. Let me see. Where did I... Let me check up Packers. I think it's usually 5 or so. But I mean, once Gary is back, I'm going to feel a lot better about this edge rushing room. Without Gary, I think we can get by. But with Van Ness, seemingly like he doesn't seem to me like he's really erupted yet. He's not out there constantly making big plays. I feel like coming out of camp, there's not that much talk about him. There's a little bit, but not a ton. Yeah, last year we kept 5 outside linebackers: Preston Smith, Rashawn Gary, Jonathan Garvin, T. Benaliai, Kingsley Enagbare. So we'll probably go out with around 5 again. Which if we go Gary, Preston Smith, Lucas Van Ness, Justin Hollins as well. He seems like he's been out there a good amount. Kingsley Enagbare. I'm not sure that Cox will actually make the roster, even though he's made some nice plays. T-Bird a great. How do you feel about our wide receiver room? I think we are deeper than giving credit. No, I love our wide receiver room. I really like the youth we have here just because we're going to be set up real well for the future with the amount of young receiver talent we have. I think Christian Watson is going to absolutely erupt this year. I think we see it all the time where year 1 wide receivers going into year 2, they take huge steps forward. And so I think we're going to see that from Watson. And I can't wait to see what he does, year 3, year 4. And the cool thing, too, is because we have all this young talent at wide receiver, we're not paying them a lot because they're on their rookie contracts. And so that's where it's going to get really interesting with his team. Like, if Love is a legit quarterback, which we'll have to wait and see if he is. But if he's a legit quarterback and the Packers are, full of tons of young receiver talent that they're barely paying any money, they're going to be able to add more free agents here the next season with all the salary cap space they're going to have free. it's going to get super interesting. But also, too, you had Dontavian Wicks, as you mentioned, down there. He looked real good in that preseason game. And if he can get back to his 2021 self, because he was insanely productive, I believe, in 2021, and he probably would have gone a ton higher if he had, been drafted after that year. But hopefully, he looks real good. He looks legit. Jaden Reed as well. We have so much young talent here, and it's very exciting. Because for years and years, we didn't. We drafted receivers, but we definitely went hard at receivers these past couple seasons. Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, tight ends, Luke Musgrave, Tucker Kraft. The Packers are giving Jordan Love lots of weapons. They may not be veteran weapons, but honestly, I may pick this year's Packers 2023 receiver core over last year's, to be honest. I think we have more talent than last year, more speed than last year, and I love Lazard, I love Randall Cobb, but I think that these players we have here are more talented than those guys. And they're way cheaper on the rookie contract, so it's just beautiful. Andre says, I think Clifford is nice. I think Clifford is nice too. I'm excited to see him tomorrow night. He's fun to watch. He's real fun to watch. Andre, they're going to be better with Love because they could play more freely. Every time they would make a mistake, Rodgers would freak out. It makes sense. Rodgers has a he knows what he wants. You know what I mean? He's a veteran. He sort of, held people to a high standard, which I think probably helped those guys get them up to speed pretty quickly. And I think Jordan Love is, he probably holds them to a standard too, maybe in a different kind of way, because obviously everyone's different. Everyone's got their own personality and way of leading. And it does seem to me like all the interviews coming out that the Packers seem to really, see Love as a true leader in the locker room. Mike says Barry is the problem, not the talent. That may be the case. And that's why I think it's a make or break year for Joe Barry. The Packers, once again, if they're just a mid-tier defense and with all this talent here, I think you got to say, okay, well, maybe Barry's not the problem, but with all the talent we have here, I think this should be better than like the 17th best scoring defense. So I probably agree with you. We'll see. We'll see this year. T-Bird the Great says Malik Heath and Dubose look nice. And not even mentioning Toure. Yeah, Toure is probably sitting as like the fourth receiver right now, I guess, behind Watson, Dobbs, Jaden Reed. But he should take some steps forward too. We got some depth there. Yeah, I'm curious to see how the receiver room ends off this year. Who's going to win those final spots? How many will we keep? Because I think we've kept 5 in the past, 6 and 7. Last year we kept 7 receivers. So I'd say definitely the first 5 are definitely locks. Watson, Dobbs, Reed, Toure, Wicks. And then I'd say the guys battling for those spots. Of course, you got Malik Heath, who's played really well. I feel like he's going to make the roster. He's also been blocking a ton, which we know Matt LaFleur loves. I think Heath will probably make the roster. And I've heard, too, from different reporters that Dubose, he at least missed a little bit of time in training camp. But he's come back recently and supposedly is looking much, much better. Brandon says, first year in a while that our team has had this much young talent. Yep. Clifford ran a 4.4 40. Are you sure? I thought it was more like 4.5 or 4.6. Let me look that up. If he ran a 4.4, he definitely can move. We saw that. He had a couple of scrambles, at least one scramble in the game the other day. I'm seeing here, they're saying 4.57. Maybe he had like an unofficial one. Someone in here is saying 4.62. I'm not seeing the 4.4, but I'm seeing the 4.57, 4.62. It's pretty solid for a quarterback. I honestly do feel, obviously in preseason games, it's hard to know how good a quarterback is because it's different talent, and sometimes you're playing against the 2s and 3s. But I feel good about Clifford as a backup. And I think, too, considering he's so young, he's going to get better. And so I feel pretty good about, having, if Love were to go down, I feel pretty good about Clifford at least having the ability to come in there. It's like, all right, we got to go score. He at least gives you a chance. Maybe he throws a pick, but maybe he scores a touchdown. You know what I mean? I'd much rather have a guy who can push the ball down the field and score, who occasionally throws some picks, than a guy who just sits back there safe, doesn't throw a pick, but can't push the ball down the field. I'd rather take a guy who takes risks, who can actually, push the ball down the field than just sort of, sit there and do nothing. Mike Jono says, can't be playing majority zone when we have one of the fastest secondaries and a true lockdown cornerback in Jair. We got to get aggressive and force turnovers for once. Yeah, no, I agree. I mentioned earlier, if you saw, Barry was saying that, from what he was saying, it sounds like the Packers may do more of that this year. It sounds like the corners want to do it, and it felt to me like the Packers had more success doing that. And the Packers definitely have corners who can make plays on the ball. I think Rasul in the past 3 years is like third among corners with interceptions, or maybe past 2 years with 9. T pretty great. I know we better find a way to get Valentine on the field on D. Yeah, I was enjoying the idea of Rasul Douglas at safety, Valentine at corner, but Joe Barry today did not sound like that was in his plans whatsoever. So he seems set on what they have right now. Ed Gaines says better find a new kicker. Yeah, the Packers are going to give Carlson more time. I'm slightly concerned. We obviously need to see him improve. And if we get to the season and this happens consistently, that's when I would assume the Packers would maybe think about adding someone if it happens in the season consistently. But I think they're going to give him a chance. Especially because they spent a draft pick on him, you know what I mean? JS99, what is your true non-biased over-under for the Packers? Non-biased. Okay, let me remove the bias. Non-biased over-under. Honestly, I feel like 8 is solid, because I honestly think the Packers can win 9 games. I don't see why not. I think Love will at least be a mid-tier quarterback, which I think would lead to the Packers winning similar to what they did last year. If Love is really good, push that up to 9 or 10. So I think 8 would be a solid over-under for the 2023 season. Mula Nick says, Barry needs to go back to 2021 form. Last year, it seemed like he tried to switch things up. I mean, the Packers defense definitely took a step back last year. If we look at scoring defense, at least, we were around 10th or 11th in 21, and maybe, I think, 16th or 17th last year. We did play better near the end of the season. So we'll see if this defense can do what I think they can do with all the talent we have there. And I think the biggest thing is this year will be Devontae Wyatt in his second year. If he can really become a legit, interior defensive lineman, and if Quay Walker can take that year 2 jump too, then hopefully this defense can be solid, and as long as their safeties don't fall apart, which, I don't know, may be a problem. T-Bird Great says, from what I've seen, Carl Brooks has been looking real good, along with Colby Wooden. I like our D-line. Yeah, Wooden looked great. I shared a clip on my Twitter the other day. I was watching some of the game over again, and there were 2 nice plays. One nice play against the run where he just throws his guy to the side, makes a tackle. Another one where he sees the screen right away, drops back, almost intercepted the ball. He just has a lot of speed for an interior defensive lineman, which is good. Obviously, tracking down the ball carrier and recognizing those screens and things like that. So the Packers definitely have a ton of depth, I think, this year on the interior defensive line. What is up, Dan? Hello from Sweden. Hello, that's cool. Sweden. I've never been to Sweden. I'd like to travel to Sweden. When do you think they will cut Newman? Royce Newman? Yeah, Royce Newman has definitely struggled. I don't think they're going to cut him, only because of where he was drafted. I feel like they'll be more patient with him, and he could still win a backup spot, because what did he get? A 4th-round pick in 2021. I don't know. He has struggled. We'll see if he can help his case, because he was playing somewhat okay in his first season. You know what I mean? Let me take a look at his PFF grades. I know some people don't like PFF, but I like PFF. It at least gives you a basic idea of, and they have tons of great stats on pressures. Yeah, the past 2 years, Royce Newman is at a excuse me. He's at a 55.7 grade in 2021, which out of 100, no bueno. And a 57.5 grade in 2022, also no bueno. So, I don't know. I don't see them cutting him, but maybe it's not crazy to think that could happen. Imagine if that Chris Jones rumor was true. What is this rumor? I know, isn't Chris Jones still in those contract dispute with the Chiefs? Which he's a huge part of their defense. Is there some Packers rumor or something? Let me know about that rumor. I haven't heard about this rumor. I don't think I have, at least. Brandon, hey bro, here in Green Bay, Wisconsin. Keep streaming. Love it, bro. Dude, I appreciate it. Thank you for watching. I hope that I can get back up to Green Bay sometime in the future. I've been to like 3 Packers games. I do live in Texas, so it's a good distance away from me. The weather there, I have the Green Bay weather in my phone just because I look sometimes. And if we do a comparison next to where I am, it's 108 where I am currently. To 108, what does it feel like? 110? What is in Green Bay? 75? Oh my goodness. 75 sounds amazing. It's lovely out here, yeah. I went on vacation in Colorado a few weeks back, and I was up in the mountains. It was like 73 every day, and that was after being in like 105-degree weather. So that's like a 40-degree drop, and it was amazing for a week. And then I came back, and it was like I got back into the oven. So the 10-day weather forecast where I am is absolutely terrible. You guys want to see this? I don't know if it'll focus. 109, 107, 109, 107, 104, 104, 104, 105, 106, 104. You almost get used to it, though. I mean, it's like 95. You walk outside, and the other day it was 95, and it was like, wow, it feels like fall. But I'm excited for the heat to go down. Yeah, Jones to Green Bay rumor. Where did you see this rumor? I just looked up Chris Jones Packers. I'm not seeing anything. Oh, here's some article that says Green Bay Packers named in trade with the Kansas City Chiefs. It's probably like an idea. Like someone came up with an idea. It sounds like someone just came up with a trade idea. I don't think. Yeah. So I doubt that happens. The Packers don't have any money. I mean, how much money do we have? That's a good question. Let's answer that. Packers salary cap. I haven't checked in a little bit. We have $13.5 million of cap space. It's not terrible. Could be worse. That's for sure. Our 2024 cap space, 18.9 mil. Brandon says we have a game in town tomorrow night. It's going to be great. Die-hard Packers fan. Are you going to the game? That'll be fun. I'm going to watch the game. I need to figure out where it's showing. If it's on NFL Network or if it's on like NFL Plus. That would be a crazy line if we had Chris Jones. Oh, yes. I mean, that would be amazing, but I don't think that's going to... I think the odds of that happening are 0%. I'll be shocked. But I'll be hyped. How would they figure that out? How would they figure that out with the cap? Absolutely no idea. I don't think it's possible. But there are, we have those cap gurus working for us, and they find a way to do things. But the Packers signing a high-tier free agent this year, don't think it's going to happen. Next year, maybe. You say the cap outlook for the next 2 years looks really bad. A lot of roster turnover is coming. I don't think it looks too terrible. I mean, there are a few things like Bakhtiari's $40 million cap hit. That's clearly a problem. That is a big problem. But Rodgers' cap hit will be off the books, which is good. And we automatically, if we were to release Bakhtiari next year, save 20 mil. Maybe they can like restructure it or something, potentially to save money. Who knows? Bakhtiari, Smith, Aaron Jones, and Campbell. Yeah, let's look. The biggest cap hits for next season right now. Bakhtiari, 40.5 mil. Kenny Clark, 27 mil. Jair 24, Aaron Jones 17. Yeah, that's the thing with the Aaron Jones one. 17 million for a running back. The Packers are going to have to figure out something there because I don't think that'll. They're going to do something. Which I don't know how. Let's see if they cut pre-June with Aaron Jones, which I never want to see Jones leave, but if they did, they'd save 4.8 mil. If you cut Kenny Clark, you save 3.2 mil. Bakhtiari, 21.5 mil. That's for next offseason. Oh, Brandon living here. We get all the games on live TV. That is nice. That is nice. Yeah, I have to, being a Texas resident, I have to have NFL Sunday ticket because I do not get every Packers game here. We get a lot of them because there's a ton of Packers primetime games, but I've probably had Sunday ticket for like 8 years or something. Elliott, you have to take into consideration Love as a QB will get 40 million and Gary will be north of 22. Yeah, we'll have to see about the Love thing because maybe if he balls out this year, I would assume we give him an extension. Like if we know for sure, okay, Love is the guy, he's gonna take us to the Super Bowl in the years to come, then yeah, definitely. And the Packers will have to figure that out. But with the thing is with these new contracts is they are pretty massive, like overall number wise. But if you look at lots of like new deals, the cap hits are relatively low, and the money gets pushed year to year, and it just disappears. It seems. I know it doesn't disappear, but that's what it seems like. Because I know a few years ago when I started like talking about the Packers on YouTube, at first it's like the first time you really dig into the salary cap, and you're like, oh no, we only have $5 million of cap space. How in the world are we going to survive? And then 3 weeks later, all of a sudden we have like 25 mil because they restructured 3 contracts. You're like, oh, maybe it's not a big deal. So I'm not too worried about the salary cap. But there definitely are important decisions to make next offseason. Brandon, look at all the running backs getting money cut all over the NFL. Yeah, I don't think it's smart to pay running backs much money. I mean, not obviously you pay them. Not saying you pay them $0, but I think it's smart for these teams who aren't paying their backs. Like I think it was smart by the Giants not to give Saquon Barkley a ton of money. I don't think it's a winning formula in Super Bowl teams in the past few seasons. In the past like 10 years, there's barely been any teams that pay their running backs a ton of money. It's usually super cheap backs. Like last year, Isaiah Pacheco. So I don't think paying running back is like a great idea. D. Gary says, I say trade Dillon at this point. I don't think they're going to be able to keep both or trade Jones. Yeah, I definitely need to do more thinking on that idea, but yeah, I don't think to pay 2 backs, because we'll have to see how Dillon performs this year, just because he was pretty solid last year, but yeah, if we had to pay him a good amount of money to pay him and Jones, I think that's too much money at the running back position. Oh, Reese, thank you so much for the $4.99 donation. I appreciate you a ton. We all appreciate your passion for football, and the Packers love the live streams. Well, thank you, Reese. I appreciate you too. Thank you, guys. Thank you for watching. Elliott, personally think this will be the last year for Bakhtiari, Preston Smith, Aaron Jones, and Campbell. That is north of $55 million in cap savings. Yeah. I mean, that wouldn't be shocking to see those guys potentially released, getting older, saving tons of money. That wouldn't be shocking to me. Let's see how they perform this year and then assess. Because, if Campbell still plays at an elite level, then it could. I mean, how old is Devondre Campbell now? He has to be at least, he's 30 years old. Yeah, I mean, it's just tough in the sport, of course. Once you start reaching your 30s, no one is immune to age taking over. Tipper to great. I'm excited to see Love 5 to 6 weeks in. Me too. Yeah, after a few games under our belt, I mean, I'm so excited for week 1. I cannot wait. Brandon, what would you think of Love winning the Super Bowl this year and say we went against the Jets and beat Rodgers? Now, that would make for probably the best year of us Packers fans' lives. If it happened in that way in his first year, now that would be shocking. But hey, never say never. Elliot, about 30. Oh, 30 years old. You're responding to Devondre Campbell. I see. Mac, excited to see how we do this season. What's your record prediction? I'm probably going to go... I think a while ago I made a video with a prediction. I'm trying to remember what I said. I either said 9 wins or 10 wins. I think I said 9. I need to... Yeah, 9 or 10 wins. Let's rock with 10, because that's better. Let's rock with 10 wins. 10 and 7. I'll go with that. Matt Hawkins, a live stream? Nice. Yes, a live stream. I did a live stream yesterday, too. I decided yesterday to do a live stream, and then I decided today to again do a live stream. And it's been fun. Elliot, you say 7 and 10? Yeah, I'd say 10 and 7, definitely on the optimistic side. But I just think that if Love can be... I mean, my 10-win prediction is based on me believing that Love can be like a 10th to 15th best QB in the league. That's what assumption is based off of. And a slight better performance from the defense this year. Because we were like 17th or something last year. If we can move up to like 12th, which I don't think should be terribly hard with Devontae Wyatt, you know, the news of him playing really well coming out of camp. Quay Walker taking a year or two jump. I'm worried about the safeties, but that's why I say 10 wins. Clearly, if Love plays as a bottom 10 quarterback, that'll probably be more like 6. But I just do believe in Love, and I believe that he's at least... I don't think he's going to be terrible. He's at least going to be a mid-tier quarterback. And I think, you know, you look at the talk right now about Jordan Love and the preseason and the training camp stats, and I think I saw that in the 3 joint practices he was like at 50% completion percentage, which obviously in the season that's not good. But I was listening to Chris Sims earlier today, and he mentioned how early one time in Tom Brady's career he was like at 50% in training camp. He comes in during the season and balls out. I was even reading today too about Patrick Mahomes. I think it was it 2018? But basically it was right when he was around the time he was entering the league, either year 1 or 2. I can't remember exactly. And he had thrown like 6 or 7 interceptions in the first week. And I was reading an article from then, and the writer was saying like fans are concerned because Patrick Mahomes, he's thrown 6 picks, but then he'll also have an amazing play. So like, oh no, maybe this is a bad things are going to happen. And then look where we've gone. So that's why I'm not going to, just look at Love and his training camp stats or preseason stats and say, shoot, he's a bad quarterback. Because, examples like that make me say, wait, maybe we're overreacting to things. You know what I mean? So that's why I don't put too much weight into it. Anyway, I'm just waiting for the season. Whatever he starts showing in the season, okay. And I also think, too, once he starts, playing more and more games, as I've said today and yesterday, he started in 1 NFL game. 1. And there are guys like Peyton Manning who in their first year threw like 26 touchdowns and 28 interceptions. I'm pretty sure that was Peyton Manning's first year. So, even if Love started out slow, that also doesn't mean he's a bad quarterback. Hopefully he starts out not slow, but it's going to take some time, and I think the Packers front office knows that there's going to be ups and downs with all these young players on this roster, and they're willing to give it time because it's sort of, a new team here with Rodgers gone. Brandon, I feel we will have more than 10 wins this year. It's an easy schedule, and using the running backs like they should because we have the best duo running backs in the league. It could happen. It's possible. I do think that things have to go our way, definitely. But I think we have the 14th easiest schedule in the league, I saw yesterday, which is not too bad. D. Gray, we really not going to know what we have till week 5. Yeah, let's take a look at our first 5 games. Week 1, we got the Bears. Week 2, we got the Falcons. Week 3, the Saints. Week 4, the Lions. Week 5, the Raiders. Yeah, I'd say we win our first. I think we can go into Bear Country week 1, beat them. Do you guys agree? 17 wins. Yeah, that's what I dream about when I go to sleep. 17-0 in year 1 with Jordan Love. T-Bird a great. I'm actually hyped about our defense. George says, Jordan Love is a standard quarterback that he hasn't shown me anything special about him. There's no flashes of greatness in him. And not that that's a bad thing. He's just another ordinary quarterback. Okay. I mean, we haven't seen much of him, though. We've only seen one start a couple times in a season. Last week, where he had a few mistakes. But, yeah. We'll see. C-Mart, 9 wins, win wildcard weekend, and then lose by 17 in the divisional round. If we make the playoffs, that's definitely a win, which I think is possible. A Pope 06. Packers will get a wildcard playoff easy. I say 10 wins. I like the positivity. Guys. Brandon, the last time everyone unexpected our team like this year, we won the Super Bowl with Rodgers. Yep, we were. Well, I think that was Rodgers' third year. Because Rodgers' first year, 6-10. But it wasn't because the offense was bad. We had the 5th best scoring offense in 2008 when Rodgers took over. It was the defense. I think we were the 22nd ranked scoring defense in 2008, which is why we were 6-10. But then, of course, the year we won the Super Bowl, the defense just plays insane. I think, weren't we the best scoring defense that year? So that was 13 years ago. Hopefully soon we can get another taste of a Super Bowl. If Love is the guy, if he shows us this year that he's an elite quarterback, then 2024, 2025, we'll see. Exotic, worried during the stretch when the games are Steelers, Chargers, Lions, Giants, Chiefs. Yeah, that's a tough stretch. When does that stretch start? November 19th against the Chargers, November 23rd against the Lions, Chiefs December 3rd. Is that game in Arrowhead? No, that's in Green Bay. If we beat the Chiefs in December in Green Bay, whew. D. Gary, I don't care what the record is going to be. I just want to see what Love can do a full season. Yeah, and I think the record will be somewhat of an indicator. Hey, Hawk. Hey, Jets fan here. Is there any validity to the Bakhtiari trade, or is this a pipe dream? I think it's a pipe dream. Today, Brian Gutekunst said that the Packers are not trading Bakhtiari. So, I don't see it happening. However, I don't always trust what GMs and coaches say, because a few years back, before Russell Wilson got traded to the Broncos, I think 2 weeks before, Pete Carroll said, we are not trading Russell Wilson. So, I don't always just, take coaches and GMs, what they say at the podium, like 100% fact, because they're not going to say what they always think. But I don't think it makes sense for the Packers. We would not have an elite tackle to protect Love's blind side. We'd only save $1.5 million in cap space. But if we got to the trade deadline, the Packers are absolutely terrible, and the Jets offered the Packers like a second-round pick, and the Packers plan to release Bakhtiari. If they did, then maybe you take draft capital. Maybe. But I don't see it happening now. I think they would have done it earlier in the offseason. We play Turkey Day. Oh, yeah, Thanksgiving against the Lions. I enjoy Thanksgiving football. Brandon, we have a lot of talent this year, and a lot of our starters were hurt that Super Bowl and still won with second and third string. There were a ton of injuries that year. Wasn't that the year James Starks played really well? C-Mart, I'm more worried about the defense because of Joe Barry than Love in the offense. I honestly agree. I think that Matt LaFleur's scheme and the amount of talent and speed we have on offense is going to hold this Packers offense up with the O-line we have. And yeah, I'm slightly more worried about the defense. I agree. Hawk, thanks. Appreciate your take on it. No problem, man. And congrats on getting Aaron Rodgers. You're going to get to enjoy what us Packers fans have enjoyed for, 15 years? Thanksgiving is one of the reasons Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. Yeah, dude, the food, the games on, you can't beat it. James Starks. Starks was a beast for a while. When did he leave the league? I'm looking up his stats. He left after 2016. He was never super... He never had more than 601 rushing yards, which was in 2015. The general TSO, if they traded him away, wouldn't that help the trade pick we got for Aaron to turn into a first round if he plays X amount of games? If they traded away Bakhtiari, wouldn't that help the trade pick we got? Well, it may help. It may not help us, because if we gave the Jets Bakhtiari, they'd be better, which means we'd have a worse draft pick. So, maybe I understood your question. When we drafted Jones, did we draft Jones in 2016? Yeah, Jones was a 5th rounder. See, that's the thing with the running back position, why they're not getting paid, because Aaron Jones was a 5th rounder. Isaiah Pacheco, 7th rounder. Wasn't Austin Eckler, when was he drafted? He was undrafted. See, so you can just find running backs all over the place. T. Gibbo, we get nothing out of trading Bakhtiari. However, I think we have 4 studs at tackle: Walker, Jones, Yosh, and Tom. Yeah, I agree that we don't really get much from Bakhtiari unless they gave us some crazy deal, which I don't see happening. And I think Rasheed Walker is definitely moving in the right direction. It seems like he's going to make the roster. Caleb Jones, I feel like we just need to see more of him. And yeah, I think Yosh is a solid tackle. He's not an elite tackle, I would say, like a Bakhtiari. But he's like serviceable and he's pretty solid. What is up, Dono Leza? How's it going? D. Gary, the bright side is this: if Love not the guy, we still got a chance to maybe get the number 1 spot in the draft next year. Trade our 2 first-rounders from the Jets. Get Caleb Williams. I mean, that is a possibility. We should have 2 first-round picks. And I feel like the only way that happens is if Love is an absolute disappointment. Because I really think the Packers will at least give him 2 seasons. Because if he's average in 2023, you'd assume a big jump in his next season. So, but who knows? It's possible. It is nice to have that much draft capital. Brandon, the draft is here in Green Bay next year. Let's go. Isn't it 2025? All right, guys. Well, I think I'm about to head off. It's been about an hour on the live stream. No, 24. Oh. Okay, maybe it is. I thought it was 25. Elliot, I don't see a way a team picking number 1 trades that pick. Whoever gets that pick is taking Williams. That could be the case, but yeah, it could be. Fried chicken tonight? Hey, that sounds good. Maybe I should eat fried chicken tonight. I hadn't thought about my dinner yet, but fried chicken always sounds good to me. You know, I'm pretty sure the draft is 2025. Let me look it up. Yeah, 2025 is when the draft is being hosted. But that should be fun. Chris, thank you for all the news, Luke. Have a good one. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate it. All right, guys. Well, thank you to everyone who was tuned in, watching. I appreciate you guys. Thank you for supporting the channel, watching my videos. And I'll be out tomorrow with a, I guess, a reaction to what happened in this game, the preseason game. So that should be fun. We'll get to see what goes down. But that is it. Thank you for watching. See you guys tomorrow.